Hi everybody, welcome once again to my dining room. I was going to say living room, my dining room for some crafts. So welcome to aadl.tv if this is your first time here. If not, like I said, welcome back. Today we are going to be making some paper roses, just like this. So this one, I've made a lot of these. And I always will usually use like water damaged books or just damaged books in general that we're getting rid of or from like resales and stuff like that. But so you get the really pretty like words on the pages. But I don't have any of those books today because I haven't gone out and gotten them. So instead, I'm just using regular paper today, and I made an example one, and I think they're still just as pretty. So the things you'll need is you'll need your hot glue gun. So if you maybe aren't comfortable using a hot glue gun, this might not be the craft for you, or you can get someone to help you. But you'll need a hot glue gun. You might want a pencil. You'll need 2 pieces of paper, scissors, and you'll want like a toothpick. I didn't have any toothpicks, so I used something similar in that like round shape, that skinny round shape. I used dried pasta, so that I just broke, and we'll get to that point later, and I'll explain why you need this and why it's helpful. So go ahead and gather those things if you will, or if you don't have them already. Also today, I have my plant with me here because we're making roses, and I did wear my rose shirt. I would like to say it's on coincidence, but it's not. It was on purpose. All right, so the first step in making these paper roses is we're going to need 3 square shapes out of paper. So I'm going to show you, so this is like roughly the size you want in relation to my hand. I just eyeballed it, so I don't know the actual measurement. And the actual measurement isn't that important. You can make them as big or as small as you want, but all 3 of your squares have to be the same shape. So I'm just going to use this one that I already cut and kind of trace it on my paper. And I doubled up my paper so I can be faster, basically. So you're going to match up those corners and cut out your square shapes. Like I said, they can be as big or as small as you want. I know origami paper already comes in squares, so if you have origami paper, you can make some bigger roses. Whatever floats your boat. Kind of anything goes here. As I said, just as long as they're the same shape. So I'm going to put my other paper aside, and I'll find a use for it later because I don't like wasting paper. But I have my 3 squares. So I'll show you just with the first square what we're going to do, what we're going to have to do with all 3. So you're going to fold your square. So you're going to fold it diagonally first. Like this. So it opens. And then diagonally 2 more times. So we got the first one. Number 2, so it's that, and then number 3. So that's 3 diagonal folds that we're going to do with all 3 of these. So go ahead and do that now. So I've made a ton of these roses because when my friend got married, one of my best friends, when she got married, they were doing everything like DIY. And she wanted to do paper roses like on the centerpieces instead of real flowers because that gets pricey. So I made like at least 200 of these. I just watched You on Netflix and made so many paper roses. And if you have never seen You on Netflix, if you are a paranoid person like I am, maybe not the best show for you. So, good memories, good times. Alright, so that is my 3. All 3 are done. So, now that this is done, you want to find the point where all of them merge. So you don't want to do it on this side. You want here. I'll try to make it so you can see. So not up here, you want it here, where you have the most folded sides coming together. Or I guess all the sides are folded, coming together. And on this point, you're going to hold it with your thumb, and you are going to cut out the shape of your petals. So I'll draw that out so you guys can see where I'm going. You can get creative with it and do like super realistic rose petal shapes. Sometimes they're kind of like pointy at places. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just doing a little arch. So I'm going to take my scissors and we're going to go ahead and cut that out. Okay. Good. And then we're going to take the tip here and we're going to just cut off a teeny tiny bit. So like that. So then when you open it up, you have a little flower. So we're going to do that same thing, cutting out the shape and little tips off our other 2 pieces before we move forward. Oh, and if you haven't plugged in your hot glue gun, now is the time to do that because we're going to need it real soon. And you want it to be ready. Or at least I like it to be because I get antsy. So we're going to cut our petal shapes again. And you want them, like I said, roughly the same size as your previous ones. If they're not, yeah, whatever. You can make more. You can make hundreds of these, like me. Like I said, I like to use book pages of books that are getting thrown out for whatever reason. I think it's pretty when the book pages are yellowed too from age. Obviously, please don't cut up any like valuable books, like first editions and stuff like that. Like old textbooks and stuff like that would be great. Or water damaged, like I said. Okay, so we have 3 little paper flowers. 1, 2, and 3. So I'm gonna actually push you back a little bit so you can see better what I'm doing. So this part is when you kind of have to keep track of where you're working and what you're working with. So, because we're going to cut each of these differently. Okay, still with me? Good. So the first one, I'm going to count out 3 of these and cut along this line. And I'll draw that out again. Because I realize it might be hard to see with my camera. So I will be cutting there. So it's 3 petals. Oh, I did this wrong. Which way am I? 1, 2, 3. And then on the next flower, we're doing the same thing, but with 2. So I'll draw that one out for you. So 2. Can you see that? And then the last one, 1. Okay, so just one lone petal. So after you cut these, I would highly suggest keeping them in order in front of you, because that gets to be helpful. So I'm going to cut out my 3-petal one. Also, the weather's been so nice lately, and I can't wait for flowers to start popping up. I've had enough of this rain. I just want the pretty parts of summer, but not the actual heat. I'm very much an indoors person. And by indoors, I mean winter and not sun. But I love gardens outside, so I contain multitudes, I guess. All right. Cool. So, as you can see in front of me, here, I can actually do it. Is this better if I do it this way? I don't think it makes a difference. All right. So I have my different petals laid out here. So this is when you want to get your toothpick or your pasta noodle, if you're like me, a spaghetti noodle, because you want to curl the edges of your flowers. So you can do this right now, or you can wait. I'm just going to go ahead and do it right now, I think. Which I think I usually do it after I glue some of them together, but not all of them together, so I'm just doing it now to be safe. So you're going to take your pasta noodle and you're going to put it right up to the edge of the petal, and then you're just going to roll it nice and easy so you get a curl. Can you see that? Good. And you're going to do that with pretty much all of them. So this is the part that takes time, that I freaked out over Joe from You during. Yeah, usually like once a year, I'll want to like watch something like creepy or scary, because I guess I'm just a glutton for punishment. Because then, of course, I don't sleep for weeks. And I'll like see someone outside my house and be like, oh yeah, they're definitely coming for me. They're stalking me. I'm going to get kidnapped. I think I probably watched way too much Law and Order growing up. But a little CSI. Psych. Crime shows in general. Okay. So I'm almost done. I have curled my bigger 3 pieces. I'm moving on to my smaller 3. And if your curls aren't perfect, that's okay. I would very much suggest, though, finding something round. Because I tried to do it before I realized I didn't have toothpicks, like half an hour ago when I made my practice one. And I was like, oh, I'll just use a bobby pin. And it was not cute, did not look good. And then I tried to do something else before I thought of pasta noodles. I don't remember what it was. Point is, something round is so much easier to work with. Do yourself a favor and find one if you don't have toothpicks. And I realize that most people probably have toothpicks. So I just finished curling my last one. But while you're holding this teeny 1-petal thing, we're going to do ourselves a favor early on and just cut off like a portion of the petal on the bottom portion. I usually pick the side that doesn't have like the pointy or the side that does have the pointy end, I used to cut off that one. Because that's the side that's going to go down into the bloom. And it's not as pretty. Get rid of it. Because if you don't cut it off, what I've found is that, so when you have your finished one, when you don't cut it off, your middle piece here will stick out like way above the rest of the flower. And it just doesn't really look as realistic. Okay, so I know we just went and curled all those petals, but now we're gonna uncurl them just a little bit, just so it's not as hard of a curve and curl, to make it look a little bit more natural. So they're just kind of nicer like that, instead of like a Shirley Temple curl. And you'll want to leave your middle petal completely together. So don't uncurl that one. All right. So believe it or not, we're almost done, folks. So we are going to take our biggest string of petals, basically, and we are going to hot glue them together. So from my point of view, all you're doing is going like this with hot glue. So you're just bringing those two sides together. So you really just need to glue one side. I guess you could do this project without hot glue, but I think I'm just far too impatient for that, to be honest. So, and you will get hot glue strings everywhere, so do your best to kind of pick them up as you go. And there's a high probability that you will get it on your finger, hot glue on your fingers. So I think they make like gloves, like heat resistant gloves that you can use, but I don't have those, so just bear with the pain for the sake of crafting. So once that's done, this is what you have. And it makes that nice little shape already for you. And you're going to just keep moving down the line, hot glue gunning petals together the same way we did before, except it just gets smaller and smaller. Make sure you remember to keep your curl outward, so your curls are facing outside, not going inward. Still just going. In retrospect, after that wedding I made all these for, I probably should have kept them all. I kept like 10 of them. I believe people like took the ones on their tables. But imagine if I still had like 200 of these, I can make such a like pretty garland. It'd be amazing. So if you have time while you're isolating yourself, maybe that's what you're gonna do. Maybe you're gonna make a garland. If you do, let me know. I want to see it. Take a picture of it and post it to the libraries thing. By the libraries thing, I mean any social media, really, the libraries. It will find its way to me. So as you get to the smaller petals, they start to get harder to glue together, and that's totally okay, super normal. You did not do anything wrong. It's just because you're working with a tinier space. Oh, I almost messed this one up. But it's okay, I didn't. But I'm going to get this hot glue all over my fingers. Okay. And the 2-petal piece is the worst, because it always comes uncurled. Mine very much came uncurled. And when you try to recurl it, I usually end up ripping it, like just a little bit with a little tear, but that's okay. So I'm going to try to recurl it. Please don't. Okay, so far so good. Is it possible to like anti-jinx yourself? Because like if I were to say I never rip it, then of course it'd rip. But then of course when I say I always will rip it, it did not. So, all right, cool. So now all we really have left is the assembly process. So you're gonna take your handy dandy hot glue gun again. Oh gosh, I have glue literally all over me. Okay. So your biggest piece with petals, that's going to be your base. So you're going to go in order and glue the rest inside of this basically. So that's why I like to keep them mapped out in front of me from largest to smallest. Just because it makes this process easier instead of having to like dig through your petals and figure out. So I just put hot glue around the base and ring of the outside, and then you try to line it up so your petals alternate with the outer ring. I guess I kind of did. Got hot glue on me. Okay. I also recommend if you draw out your square at the very beginning, like I did to show you guys, I realized I messed up, and now that line is just in my flower, which is fine. But if you are a perfectionist or mildly a perfectionist, I would erase your pencil lines. So there we have 2 layers so far. Can you see that? I think so. Perfect. Then you're going to take the next one and do the exact same thing. And you'll notice that there is a hole right in the middle. You do want that there because that's going to be helpful later when you have your middle piece, like your 2-piece and your 1-piece. Because sometimes, do I have an example one? Yeah, the one I made a little bit earlier. You can see my 2-piece and 1-piece are like way taller, and you can end up pushing them kind of down into the center. So keep that in mind as you're working here. All right, I'm moving on to the 3-piece to go in to the bloom, the blossom, whatever you want to call it. Ooh, this one's kind of tall. That's okay. So, actually, perfect example. This one's kind of tall, so I'm kind of just using my thumb to force it downward a little bit more while the glue is still hot to make it fit better. And since that is kind of tall, you can also just, before you put any glue on them, measure. Ooh, I'm glad I did that because look at how much higher that is. It may not seem that much higher, but I'm just going to take a very minimal cut off the tip of that. And hot glue gun again. My glue is almost out on this, and I hope I can finish this flower before it runs out. Once you get towards the middle, after you put your hot glue gun and you put it in here, you'll have to hold it because the fresh hot glue will start to melt the previous glue that is already in here, and it will make your flower like sag and drop to the side because, you know, gravity. I'm no scientist, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So you just want to hold it until you make sure that it's dry. And we have our last little petal. And just get whatever glue you want on there. Perfect. you're just gonna press it right in. And it's cute as can be right in there. Here for it. All right, and I think I'm done. So there, like I said, you can see my pencil lines. So when you're doing this at home, erase those. I didn't think of that ahead of time. I usually don't have pencil lines because the way I did it with a book was I used a straight razor, or like, well, I guess not a straight razor, an X-Acto knife. Are they the same thing? No? Sure, I used an X-Acto knife. I had measured out, I want to say it was like 3 or 4 inches per side of the square, and measure that out on the first page of the book, and then use my X-Acto knife and just kept cutting in that same spot. And it worked out pretty well, but if you're doing that, be careful. And once you get towards the end of your book, especially be careful with the surface of your cutting surface, I guess. If you don't have an X-Acto knife like matte, or like put a cutting board under or anything, I would hate for you to carve up your table in a 3-inch by 3-inch square. But yeah, I think they're really pretty. And if you're making them at home, please take, pictures. They can be artistic if you'd like, and send them to AADLgram or our Facebook page, Ann Arbor District Library, or anywhere you want. That is our social media, or Twitter, which I think is just at AADL. I'd have to double check that. Don't quote me. Oh, and also, I'm sure if you wanted to like make a stem, if you had floral wire, you could probably loop it in when you're on your like second set of petals. That would probably work. But I don't have floral wire, and I didn't need them when I made all the ones I made. So yeah, good luck, and thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for more stuff. We will be posting the schedules and stuff usually a day or two before, so thank you for watching, everyone. Bye!